Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Reviewing Comics with me, your host, Alexander Turbin. This week we're going to be going over The Crossovers, a 2003 comic from CrossGen. But before we get into that, I'd like to show you some of my own artwork. And if you guys would decide to check these out, it would help the channel and help me personally with my art career, and I would really love that. It's a 12-page, full-size, full-color comic that I produce for my patrons on Patreon. You can check these out at patreon.com/Alexander Turbin. And like I said, it's 12 pages, full color, full-size, regular-size comic book. The first 10 pages are usually done by me, and then there's two other pages by backup artists and writers and stuff. This is Space Bear by Chris Knox. You can, like I said, you can check them out on Patreon /Alexander Turbin, or you can go to my website, alexanderturbin.com, and you can check them out there. Or you can just check me out at AlexTurbin0441 at Instagram, and you can just message me if you want to check out a few issues there. But either way, if you check it out, I really appreciate it, and I would love you even more than I already do. The Crossovers. I've been thinking about doing this one for quite a while, ever since I started the channel, and then even before. It's one of the very few comics that I have purchased because of a review. I can't remember where I saw the review, if it was in some magazine or something like that. 2003, I wasn't really online. I don't think I had internet or computer or anything. Maybe I had a crappy little computer. I can't remember, but it was some sort of magazine where I don't know, they had reviews and stuff. I want to say it was Peter David, but I'm not. I can't be completely nailed down on that. So it's The Crossovers, and it's from CrossGen. I'm not a huge CrossGen fan. They have some interesting things. Actually, maybe I am a CrossGen fan. They have like two or three of their books that I really enjoy. I really enjoy the Ruse. I did not like what's that one? I can't remember. Anyway, so it's Crossovers. I'm gonna tell you what it's about right now. It's about a family of 4, and they each have their own secret from the rest of the family. And this is a very traditional kind of book. In the very beginning, it's the introduction is like, these characters, you've lived these characters, you've loved these characters. There's nothing new about these characters. These are all very traditional in fantasy, in comic books, and everything, because the husband or dad is a Superman clone. The wife is a vampire hunter. The daughter is a princess, queen, barbarian, Princess Xena type character in a fantasy world. And the son is a super intelligent alien, abducted, and he's working with the aliens to take over the world. So they each have their own different, unique story that they're all involved in, and none of the other ones have any kind of knowledge of what the other ones are thinking and doing. So that's a great premise. I love that premise. As soon as I heard it, as soon as I saw it, I was like, that is awesome. But in my mind, I was like, if they don't pull it off right, if they, kind of make it cheesy or whatever, then the book's not going to be any good. But it is perfectly wonderful. And let's go through the book first. It's got the mom and the 2 kids at the breakfast table, and it's very mundane, very family oriented. The daughter doesn't want to eat because she thinks she's fat. The brooding 10-year-old son doesn't care about anything. The dad is kind of oblivious to what's going on with his family, and they're just kind of each stuck in their own little world, stuck in their own little lives, not communicating with each other. And it's just kind of like how a real family often are. And but then they go off to their own little their worlds. Him to work, her to work, the kids off to school. Excuse me. she gets dropped off at her work, and she, like I said, she's a vampire hunter, and her work is she's trying to help this girl who has been afflicted with vampirism. The parents of the girl obviously don't know, and they think it's some kind of anemia, some kind of health sickness, but the wife, she definitely does know, because she's a vampire hunter, and their family name is the Crossovers, and the town is Crosstown. So there's a whole bunch of that good comic book storytelling goodness in here. I say that, and even though it infuriates me when people say comic book storytelling, I know I just kind of destroyed my own theories and my own belief system, but for the sake of simplicity, I'm just going to say that's what it is. So I'm trying to think of their names again here. But it doesn't matter. Chris, I think the wife's name is Chris. No, Chris is the daughter, and Clifford is the brother. And let's see, I can't remember. I mean, it doesn't matter what their names are for the sake of argument. But she is sent to the house, and the daughter is afflicted with vampirism. Nobody believes her. The father doesn't really believe her until she whips out a cross, and the daughter, she goes all full vampire on them. And the crossover here, she's trying to stop the vampire from doing anything, and she wants the dad to grab her crucifix and help, and she burns her with the cross, and it's all very cheesy vampire show goodness, which is, everything is very typical in this whole book. It's like the introduction says, Superman, whoever in this character in any vampire show or movie or whatever, the daughter from Xena, Princess Warrior, or anything like that, and the kid from X-Files. So all these characters. They're all very typical characters, but they've got such wonderful personality, and the story just goes completely together, and it's just such a wonderful dynamic that really, this is one of my favorite books of all time, and I'm really sad that I think it only went 12 issues, maybe 13 or 14 issues. But it's a wonderful book, and I truly love it. It goes to the Superman type, and his old friend is kind of destroying things, and he's like a super villain, a little bit like Invincible and the Doctor clones, which this is very Invincible. It's kind of like I could see this in the same universe as is in Invincible, and I would really truly love to see this done exactly like the Invincible animated show on Prime. I would love if they would just take the reins and do that. It would be so wonderful and fantastic. So anyway, he goes to fight Juan, who is really Gargantuan, and they're talking, and he says he tells him his they're fighting. And then it goes to the kids coming home from school, and the next door neighbor, he knows that there's something up with the boy, and because he is your typical conspiracy theorist, alien hunting dude with the Hawaiian shirt and the ponytail in the back. It's so very typical. The daughter, she goes into the basement and down through some tunnel or tube or whatever, and she comes out here, and like I said, she's a Xena Princess Warrior type character, and she is just like awesome, like awesomely built and super strong and fast, all that stuff. It's very archetypical. And then she goes into their camp. Apparently they're rebels, and the evil Imperatrix and these other country or whatever, they're going to attack them, and she is summoned by the wizard, and he's saying that there's a spy amongst them, and so the spy actually attacks her, but we cut to the son. So we're going from each character and who they are in their secret lives and what's going on in their life, all each one at a time. And as the series goes further along, they each their lives kind of intertwine a little bit more, and they're each trying to keep their own secret. So they're trying to keep their secret from the family members, and eventually they do find out what's going on with each other. The conspiracy theorist guy finds the kid's secret, and his eyes are glowing, and he goes back to report it to some federal agent or whatever. And the kid uses his mind powers to kind of let the conspiracy theorist guy know exactly what's going on. He phones it in, and everybody thinks he's crazy, which is exactly what a lot of things happen. I mean, this is a very trope heavy book in the best ways. So then it goes on to the next part of the story. In each one of their own personal lives, he's fighting Gargantuan, and he's a friend of his, so he eventually tells him who he is. So then you find out that Gargantuan is not actually Gargantuan, but he's some robot or something. And the Carter crossover actually tells him who he is. So then the evil bad guy, Mountebank, who's his arch enemy, is going to go find his wife and kids and kill them all. But I mean, there goes another part of the story, because who's going to kill a vampire hunter, a princess of power, or an alien infested kid? Not Mountebank, that's for sure. So then it goes to the vampire hunter, and you can tell her name, Callista. Callista Salt used to be her name. Now it's Callista Crossover. And the vampire king, not Dracula, but Baron Corpescu. They have a discussion. She tells him that he's married, and he's like, I'm going to go kill your kids, your husband, and your kid. So she's like, whoops. And that's what Archetype did, because that's his name, is Archetype. Because, of course, that's his name, because he is every Superman clone ever made. So he's like, oops. So they both make the mistake of telling their last names to their arch nemesis. This doesn't happen with the Princess Queen, but she does. There is another traitor. It's the Prince Valiant type character, or Prince whoever, where he's her mate or whatever. So he wants to find her secret and go after her family, just like everybody. And the kid finds out that his alien invaders that he's allied with, they show up, and they are progressing with their part of the story, which is taking over the Earth with him as their slave or whatever. And so it's night. They've all gone through their adventures. The mom has messaged the kid saying, don't eat anything. I'll make dinner when I get home late. And but the kid has already gotten some pizza, and so it's all just your regular old family coming together at night to eat some pizza together, even though they've had this crazy day, and their arch villains, nemesises, are coming to get them. So that's really the crux of the story. They all have this super hero, vampire hunter, alien, princess warrior secrets from the rest of the family, and that it's how they're trying to keep their secrets from the rest of the family, and also how the family dynamic is. The writer is Robert Rhodey, and the penciler is Morissette. I don't know if he has a last name or first name. I always kind of wanted a one name person. I'm going to think of a name for me, and it's just going to be one name. I won't have a last name or a first name. It'll just be that. But anyway, and Early Colon is the inker, and Mark McNabb was the colorist. And like I said, it's a cross-gen book. Cross-gen got a lot of bad rap because their stories were a little stale, I think. But they had some really quality writers and artists for their books. So they weren't all bad. And like I said, The Ruse is another one of my favorite books, and I'm definitely going to be going over that because that is a fantastic read as well. So that was the crossovers, and from 2003, Cross Gen. The writing is fantastic. Robert Rhodey does a great job. All of their personalities shine through. This is the extreme, not the extreme, the standard family um, dynamic. It's you can see exactly every family's in this. My kids were exactly the same to a certain extent, and me and my wife are exactly the same to a certain extent as these families. They're just so prototypical, and it's wonderful because you interject that the dynamic of having a superhero secret or a vampire hunter secret into this dynamic, and it's really fascinating and super fun. Like I said, the writer, the plotting is fantastic. It's never dull. It doesn't rush. It's really probably almost perfectly written. I can't say that because I only think Alan Moore and maybe Frank Miller have perfectly written comics, but this is pretty damn close to it. And all of the characters, even backup characters or characters that you probably won't see again, like this, the maid, she has a little dialogue with the maid, and like she's like this one scene here. Guess who brought muffins? Oh, it's you. Come in, Miss Crossover. And then Miss Crossover says, "Please, Regina, it's Callista." And then the maid says, "Please, Miss Crossover, it's Miss O'Farrell." So it's kind of like a dichotomy of the characters talking about how they want to be addressed. And there's little things in this whole book that really, it makes it fun to read. That's basically what it comes down to. It's a fun read, and I mean, you're not going to get some of the heavy duty stuff that you get from the other comics, like I mentioned from Alan Moore and stuff, but it just being a fun read makes up for any kind of lack of true depth. And really, there isn't a lack of true depth because it's all satire and something like that. And satire and humor is very difficult to do, and it's often harder to do than any kind of real kind of anything else, whether it's horror or drama or anything like that. But like I said, this guy is a great writer. I'm going to look up some of the other stuff that he's written and see what he's done. The art, it's very good. I'm not going to say he's going to be one of my favorite artists. I'm probably not going to go looking for other stuff he's done, but he's perfect for this book. And to be honest, I think a lot of his stuff looks a little bit like mine. His characters are varied. They're different. They don't all look the same. His backgrounds are truly great. And his narrative art is perfectly fine. It's I didn't have to backtrack ever. Every panel flows perfectly together. You don't have to wonder, do I go to this panel? Do I go to that panel? Do I go to this panel? Part of it's because of the spacing of the panels and the different ways he lays out each page and each panel and the book as a whole. But it's really, it's very succinctly done, and everything is done, perfectly good. Like I said, I'm probably not going to go looking for his stuff because probably for me, it's a little bit on the cartoony side and not in the cartoony side that I truly love, like Arthur Adams. I love his cartooniness. And this guy is really good. I'm not going to say anything bad about him at all. He's a slave to the story, and that is great. Being a slave to the story is what an artist should be for a comic book, I believe. Anyway, it's to the story or not. You're not like Rob Liefeld. I think his biggest downfall for me is that he's not a slave to the story. He's a slave to putting out a cool character. He's a slave to doing the things that he wants to. He doesn't want to progress the story or give the story any kind of depth or any kind of humor or anything like that, and to make it intriguing and stimulating. He just kind of wants to make cool characters look cool, and there's nothing wrong with that. He's one of my, I'm not gonna say one of my favorites, but I do enjoy his work, and I have enjoyed his stuff before. But this guy is perfectly good. I would never disparage him at all. His narrative art, his backgrounds, his characters, his stances, his anatomy, everything is perfectly great. His expressions are, they're perfectly great, and I could see why he would become somebody's favorite artist. I really can. He's just would never become one of my favorites, even though I would definitely pick up a book, not because he did it, but if he did it, then I would not be like, oh, I'm not going to pick this up because I don't enjoy it. So I hope that makes sense. So anyway, here's the Crossovers #1 from 2003 from CrossGen, which, it goes along with the name of the company that produces it, which is totally awesome because the whole thing just is like one big spinning yarn of ball of yarn, and it all connects perfectly wonderfully. It's one of my favorites. I'm going to give this a 10. I don't give many comic books a 10, but I'm going to give this a 10 because A, I loved it from the first time I looked at it. B, I think about it often. A great comic book, you can think of a comic book 20 years after you've read it and still know what was going on, and just have really great fond memories. And that's what I have of the Crossovers. So if you guys like any of this kind of stuff, then I would wholeheartedly encourage you to go out and get a copy. And they're pretty cheap, they're not expensive at all. I don't think a lot of people know about it, but it's a fantastic book, and I wholeheartedly encourage you guys to check it out. If you like this kind of content, please consider subscribing, and also let me know if you do have a copy of the Crossovers and if you are as delighted by it as I am. So like I said, if you like this kind of content, please consider subscribing. And also, if you could give me a thumbs up, I'd really appreciate that. And I will check you guys out next time. And thanks for watching.